Whoa.
Sorry. This is the speech drop, guys.
Oh, wow.
You want to?
Guys, make sure that we are allowing this not to happen. Hey, like recording and everything else, these 3 people and these 2 people are the most important people. So make sure that that's happening. The rest of you are just kind of superfluous. So it's like, well, it's not recording, you're not doing whatever. Okay, that's, we don't care, all right? I don't care.
Thanks,
The office in there.
Is it JP?
Well,
You guys ready to go?
yeah, we're good.
I know that. Is everybody okay?
It's
ready?
literally just like taking
Hey, David, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just typing things.
Okay, all right, let's see.
Things I can't see.
Tajay, you ready?
I'm loading in the speech drop.
Okay.
I honestly, you can get started. It's the
Okay,
1AC.
we all good?
Yes.
All right, let's keep going.
invalid.
Thank you, guys. Hang on, David, watch the door. You want this open or closed?
Can you? Let's put this first off, isn't it? Yeah. Is it okay if it's spread?
Yeah.
Great. Everyone else good?
Yes.
Before Lincoln and Douglas debated about the ethics of slavery, Hobbes and concept the terms of debate for about how to best secure the promise of universal peace. Hobbes theorized realism, which he theorized that the best way to maintain peace was through the pursuit of power, while Kant theorized the use of negation and diplomacy. Within these debates, however, black and native folk were considered incapable of fitting within those universal terms and instead were pushed outside of civil society. LG debates constitute the same philosophical tradition of theorizing the universalizing mission of empire. The TOC deputizes debaters to switch sides of realism versus liberalism, who can best prevent the extinction of the empire. These debates take place over the invisible grid of gratuitous sacrifice. The liberals more economic trade to secure the allies which are required to societal clearing, to regionalize enslavement to secure their production, while the realists for the pursuit of power which required the same set violent sacrifices. The realists, like Eisenhower, made the call to sacrifice Watkins. Fear of Soviet nuclear strike resulted in suburban sprawl with segregated black people as a sacrifice zone of a counter right to attack. The liberals, like Eisenhower, engineered a coup in Guatemala to protect the profit of the United Fruit Company to the United Americans who live the dream of eating bananas. Biden and Trump debate over how U.S. federal government can protect Israel, and the IR presumed the sovereign subject of whose existence relies upon colonized zone. Gratuitous violence and formation, otherwise the subject of the Western man depends on the asymmetrical segregated order of nation states. The global order cannot exist without racial violence and 1. Imperial orders that become to protect the sovereign depends on segregated order, depends on violence. A trend is speaking in the slave making zones as civil reasons for security is often covered beyond the general trust. Increase in colonization doesn't require as theorizing it. Reasons relations which unify in order of ethical order without giving one breath for black and colonization. There's no such order. The subject of position with the world within sovereign protection and able to take force from life itself. In traditional polity discourse creates geostrategic calculation that gain coherence under on a grid of anti-blackness and Sabalu. 2. Reconstruction put an end to the anarchical state and the rebellious state, and you can protect little men to the percentage of property, nothing capital flow. South the formation state markets up to and unfinished products will require wholesale massacres instead capital and industry under protection of the law. Worldwide reconstruction concerns itself with the integration of powers, back to the legal framework of the market sovereign relations and body. And neoliberalism and assembly and debated to constitute global supremacy. The U.S. and EU leading a reconstruction of the new imperial regime of capitalist accumulation, liberal policy shaping the international environment according to American values at the time to reaffirm the central role of American military strength and constitute the essential defender of global security order. No matter what it takes, American security perimeter, expanded slowly and it's all the way far into the future. National defense policy, the technology, power shift, the role of the U.S. reconstruction, generating conditions for the emerging empire. What kind of capture are required to generate them? Peace, a quick operation, and precise, efficient, and relatable new leadership, the body in place. Sorry to decapitate leadership and leave the body in place. Institutional understanding, institutional power, and reconstruction, generating ecology, corporeality. What subject of reason those outside of the mere corporeality, anarchy, chaos, the basic country, ecology, and blood, create over racialized internal conflict, and inherent in the U.S. revolutionized defense, bureaucracy, the global consolidation required for the military revolution, economic invention, they require subject of reconstruction and leadership position, upon whom force can be unleashed with impunity and police and blood that turn into making it deemed ontologically not dead and structurally probable political ontological structures prevent capacity to draw upon the jewel and the slave flash to generate a new condition and be possible for the emergence of imperial attributable sovereign. It is increasingly difficult for capital, security, national, from international, needed for money, reason for the body and market. From the state, the empire has no right to exist. Thus, I affirm resolve the United States ought to withdraw its military presence in the West Asian North Africa region. The affirmative is a thinking of the unthought, the paradoxical submission of the possible. You should embrace the possibility of impossibility as the Thunderlutilian. 1. Political action is simply grapple with the death of land, slavery, and military preemption, speculation that contain global risk of participating, creating, and preempting the future, in the veins of its arrival, going back and forth between the apocalyptic fiction and the unthought interruption within the experience of continuity, demand the expansion of the ways that we think and act, challenges, explaining temporality, and point to the part of the history in our present and lives are not determined by or overdetermined, but as time, and mere being events and radically indeterminate the various representation and philosophical expectation that the a priori institutional reality making we real lead toward the nation, times always liberatory, those who arrive, leads to a system of time radically new as phenomenon decolonization comes from vulnerability by the present race containment and enslavement and capture not another bring back the people and the passion of already emerged about origin. My fluctuating movement getting shaped that they will be the signal for everything to call it the question is phenomenon. This is working dialogue of formation and envision recognize the recognition of the unfolding forces at that time. Is the virtual in conjunction with the unexpected tendency of the world that demands shift in recognition and our action. Decoupled with the movement of time and prompt creativity, diversion, and capacity to combine our muscle and brain in a new direction. And time and space are not neutral, but the empire colonizes time to naturalize the distance as a universal inevitable condition that's not killing too. Theory return to time into a mechanism of colonization has otherwise significance to disrupt the temporal existence, to disturb the way being linguistic capacity is reflected people, temporal habits, and people to attract coherence by this stability to temporal contingency in the states of visualized temporality and transforming the dynamic of existence from a territory effect and violently this modality of disability and territory effect. Asian who is much with the way I are in political science, they can imagine the body of the political time as neutral, universal value, and ideologies, imperialism, and globalization, the closed system, and that carefully preserve the spatial and distance is operation. Go to the next one. Dominant IR practices debate the question of time, putting it into the forefront of analysis of the world order alongside sovereignty, war, capital, and slavery, opens the possibility to ask different questions about the refuse to ontologize the field of international relations dominated by the nation state. That's the envelope. Healing 3. Dominant IR conceptualized sovereignty and war, spatial terms, spatialization, puts the threats and limitations, and then including masculine displacing time, within sovereignty as a formal statement of representation of idealized vision of political order, solution of real devices, historical relations, arrival with intention they contain, and influence or explicit axiological hierarchy and account for desirable political arrangements and the positive state capable unified, conception of the state and the institutional arrangement subjectivity to bring about the new order within the sovereignty, war, purity, certain behaviors, perspective, or political outcomes that co-work together to stimulate contact, to make time even through the times that are aligned themselves, politically circumcised, account beyond the diverse drivers or petrified relations of market that even when they cause otherwise hardened and phenomenal question about sovereignty by creating traverse or graphs across among theorists of sovereignty, history, and war, violence, capital, we think in terms of temporality of the parameters, conceptualization, violence, visualization of the present that radically allowed to change the highlighted dimensions of the social life of IR. In theorists that seen as relevant phenomena, these are radically untimely, they cannot be speculated or preempted, they get the force of time. Next one. The role of the judges in the promise of the project of empire was refused to be introduced by the affirms imperial social relations instead build collective and solidarities otherwise that do not depend on the status quo, but if necessary death. That's number 3. Global outcomes is material redefining what life can mean in the way that necessary. There are those who feel for the human the right are forever promised at the end, expensive structural relations, and there are not subjects for the human the promise has not been assured, and the object of those deaths are non-spectacular. Non-spectacular. And enough.
Good for costs?
Yes.
Okay. When you said go to the next card, that was you just like marking the card there.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything not in the doc that's right?
No.
Okay. What is the, what do you, like, if we prove that a reduction of military presence is bad, do we win the debate?
What does that mean?
Like, if we win that the United States should not withdraw military presence from the West Asian North African region, is that sufficient for a negative?
Like I just had this stuff.
Okay, sure. The affirmative is a thinking of the unthought. What does that mean?
Sure, our argument is that thinking of life through the position of death is exactly what we should do. You should embrace the sort of understanding of black and brown communities in the position of constant death and objection in IR and epistemology, and rather you should invest into those notions to think from a non.
Okay, sure. So does the affirmative get garner offense from like the non like does the affirmative garner offense from like the speech act of like reading the one
Like the performance?
Yeah.
I mean, like when you say performance, we say that performance is intrinsically tied to the way that we carry ourselves in debate.
So do you garner offense from anything other than like the post-fiat implications of?
I mean, there's a role of there's a framing into it which says that you should refuse to be seduced by the sort of negatives imperial social relations. Instead, build collectives and solidarities. Otherwise, they do not depend on the status quo.
Like sure.
I guess like is that external offense outside of your interpretation?
Okay, sure. But what do you mean like, or by the negs imperial social relations? Like, how's the negative like reading imperial social relations?
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, sorry. You should refuse to be seduced by the affirmative imperial social relations.
Okay.
Instead, build collect. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sure. It creates strategic calculations that gain coherence upon a grid of anti-blackness. Does the affirmative defend like ontology?
What does that mean? Like ontology in terms of understanding anti-blackness as good constitutive of civil society?
Like, is progress possible?
Huh?
Is progress possible?
Our argument is that in the context of like which argument? There's a lot of arguments that we like I guess that sort of framing of that question is somewhat problematic, i.e., are you going to just contextualize it to be like, oh, well, just going to ask, oh, progress is not impossible? We say that you should be able to interact with the affirmative on a theoretical justification without me needing to tell you what we are.
Okay, so does the affirmative garner offense off of its like theory of power?
We say our theory of power is correct. What, that question doesn't make sense.
Okay, sure. So, what is the affirmative trying to solve?
Sure, our argument is that we have critiqued the understanding of how the way that IR, or specifically the topics epistemology, is gridded. We say the affirmative is able to solve that by thinking of those who are untaught in the Western sort of understanding of international relations.
Okay, so why is that like mutually exclusive with like the why is that mutually exclusive with the resolution?
Sure, we defend the plan.
Okay, sure. IR requires like colonized zones of gratuitous violence.
Sure.
Why?
Sure, our argument is that specifically the affirmative evidence does a great job explaining why the sort of imperialism within the understandings of IR and sovereignty depend on a segregated order, which then segregates blackness and brownness outside of the scope of understanding of Western epistemology.
Okay. I'll send the one and see. The order is 5 Hopkins.
What's the Wi-Fi?
You can use my hotspot.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi is
Okay.
bad.
What's your pass?
I got you. Give me some.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it uploaded successfully.
One second.
NMB8J capital J.
Oh,
Lowercase J.
that's a capital. That's very helpful. Look at that.
Right.
Just give me 1 second.
I'm good whenever you are.
It's not letting me join. I'm gonna. I have my own, but my own is really slow. But I'll be fine. Give me like 20 seconds.
No problem.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Haroon, and then date. Okay, cool. First off, commitment to Israel's unclouded civil disagreements with Republic Statements as 024 Biden ruled out conditions that he repeatedly supported Israel's campaign to fight against Hungary, reiterated the USSR commitment to self-defense of the rights, also while experiencing an Arab in a massive way support against Iran, but that the US supports Israel amid the call and reports Biden's angry civil missions will continue transfers by House in the US on fund and find Israel's violation of humanitarian law, which all military plans to plans Iran, which encourages Israeli preemptive strikes that cause nuclear weapon. 24 assurances will contribute to deterrence against Iran after striking Iraq in Syria. A proxy group stand back, scale back, stance to reassure Israel not to strike Iran in desperation for my instability over their vibrant movements without presence. Iran expanding movements in Iraq without credibility security guarantees. Israel wounded purposes of attack Iran, party right to respond with full force, which all not have consequences, also where behavior reasonable to against system matches that the United States not defend, which all case reckon that China Russia exploit if the US could not provide assistance countries like also authoritarian increase influence that authoritarian increase into influence that draws in Russia, China extinction, Morgan, 9 retaliate with the sense of action against all major states in the Middle East, and Russia, retaliate the US, China involves thousands of nuclear weapons, radioactive class, being death nuclear, when it can last as long as all juniors taking savage that's not the affirmative versus possibility practices without the base actualizing being imagination instead of other essential states that would cooperative repression that otherwise vertical organization for 17 saying is this major struggle against capitalism products and attacking states presence of not predicated all new women to specific in addition to attacking Egypt, Tunisia, Thomas attack Syria goes on attacking people ruptures all way to absence of higher curse social to nothing defender sustain the beautiful imaging loss for every someone mutual turn create the stable John capitalism lost in new versus extinction level and catastrophes and repressive violence trigger 22 of our discussion conflict of resource deterioration social confusion global crisis or result of warming policy in fascism public safety to privatize and old businesses export labor police and respond class diamond bullies over 20 finding limits including water minerals climate species loss of class economy research repression which feedback generated distant further disrupting systems the alternative is a Marxist party economy 23 Marxist party reunifying class analysis justice accountability collectivity acknowledge long fight beyond what actions of negation of capital realism service zero involved collectively collectively when scale of capitalists reduce even greater participation conditions workers and with organized Marxist and politics and necessity of legal demands questions with starving of capital such as no threats of intimidation organization reading Marxist area and here's return to mobilization next up the ways these values standards and responding to it with judgment in the bodies against hollow valuation that sets off political interchange also into the rest of cases the economy but to decline affirmation polls 99 to of centers available with critical position committees as objects of investigation, critics and active agent stages, become instrumental. Their solution is suggesting that all communities in academic critical contingencies of nature in a field of opportunity, speaking of the streets and telling it, and the cost of reviewing has also purchased an adopted for analysis within the economy, suggesting whether critics should be examining the first place or reasonably members are reviewing from their area, arena of surveillance and practice, just of the second energy and academic practice, research this satisfaction, the reading exposing unintensive or running comprehensible terrain given discourses objects of analysis for subjecting them into the gaze of the dominant religions of the economy. Next up, the average and unhelpful office of the United States means the government, not private entities that could attend is ordinary meaning the United States nation to found government the dictionaries or consistent with the skin or interval needs by the term United States is not include private entities. The result requires the legislative agency, but LSA 5 legislative instrument policies use results essential to certainty and mandated action words and phrases, words which have to mean fully exists certain presence, military presence is basis, and troops only government action controls that jungle. 11. Acknowledged by our cities, military presence for basis, interval military components of 172 by another business for armistice, and neither find it military presence the affirmative violence because it defend things such as epistemology and orienting ourselves, which is beyond the scope of the topic, which makes the topic punishment limited, but never fairness and contraband topics and I will for the negation debate is innately compatible with and instead for the teams are achieved from controversy towards the diverse theorizing front of the debate, which evaluates the benefits of detailed proper research and impact into the debate supposed real discussion covers education, helpless cases, reduce is intervention in depth strategies that are pure exit debates pedagogical value independently transcripts for opponents creative sorry partners fail to iterate produces false positive negative assumption. The plan is a TV just a negative ground. They use IR by reading plan, which is a double term with the 1AC to reject the team to the turn to let start to readers ability is our also our resources and business of 1 and 2 theories that substance education and solves reading the most radical parts of the affirmative and next and discuss right states for debates that center on skip the rest of the stuff that's not the president of the United States who was the Congress that the authority for multi-president of Washington without region representative opportunity for improvement spending on authors appropriations. The United States Congress unanimously passes legislation rescinding the budget authority for multi-president and the Washington without region issue congressional resolution expressing its support. It solves by defunding multi-president in the Middle East, which is solvent because it forces troops to go hold the president of calling back funding via rescission rates and uncontrolled spending failure. It nothing can be done about overspending the statutory rescission when rescission spending. There have been no since 2000 that these change rescissions are first step for gaining uncontrolled spending under control. Since the message that need to get spending under control is important. If we can't fall back through resistance, we give up internally use starts and word of precision is a place to do it. Extinction conquer Tony did exceed 100% with the GDP. Everybody recognizes the limit of policy. Crisis, inflation, evaluation, capacity, the dangerous inflation, always say that we have another crisis event for inflation, China, Russia, or the East African inflation emotions at a recession, aggressive mitigation, perhaps of the policy from spending to be crisis and not home collaboration will come over remove the only rescission or distinct no direct limit not restriction. These appropriations rather require specific action to extend appropriations in action disaster rescission is cancellation. Rescission is an either or procedure ahead of 12 as a set of programs be authorized before an appropriation will Congress with post budget through the IC advice impediments in categories of distinct rescission session cancel appropriations rescissions are exclusive and either or cannot be both case. None of the surrendering stuff or the black guilt stuff has nothing to do with the contents of the debate round. So reject them. Surrendering is bad because it relies on your opponent's intent to validate your activity, which is bad since screws are inevitable. The will of the ballot is vote for the better debater based off of your flow. Anything else is arbitrary, even though it's all. But even though their will of the ballot is tangentially related to this topic, there are infinite things tangentially related, which means that it's fundamentally unpredictable. But negative presumption what debate is how to spill over and about for them cannot solve material racism, but claiming that it does the least responsibility of those to be held accountable. Exclusively impacts with a causal connection to their solvency. Top county is not a weaponization of whiteness or saying that they're not good of our interpretation. Is not exclusionary. Inserted debate TVA solved interpretations absolutely worse than not solved or reurient or subjectivity vows do not correlate with true technical powers of debaters. Matters forward that the truth behind their arguments, otherwise bad strategies become exploited by good debaters. People have been prepping this topic for months, and it's the last remain on the topic, which means that moderates are incoherent and the ballot can only solve in-round abuses, violence, extinction, always it's infinite. Over reality of causes, rulings of painful deaths, and the risk of right out, wisdom is wrong, is essential deaths, but debate for social values, well done, prime professional values, a little overall, so it's not that motivating people, social values, translating the content, the matter, the extension for increasing compassion values, perception policy, so exists in the face of that, the word is discerning, producing reactions, which values that motivate support, compassion, and values. Practice as a catalyst to radical change will overtake the GP theory, realization behind revolution will likely occur after progress will cause COVID, due depression, revolutions, or things doing bad cannot be caused with mobilization instead of losing something, getting worse, psychologically devastating them, motivate radical behavior, promotes desire to breathe their life, is instinctual desires, operation that is, as a spread of need satisfaction, and social substances are not monolithic, career 22, there's not one statement, but many say exercise have select pivotal agencies, not these trans inclusive policies, because of opportunity innovations in schools, and shelters are held here in prisons, either by the penal suits, policies, policies, you can go rescue access and health care matters of gates, and those do not cover all conditions as word of political actors, sometimes the low chance personalities means of an unlikely kinds of places where wrestling changes from institutions, services, structures of institutions and state and federal levels have their own effects. Interpersonal and international conflicts are analogous, but has either side interversing level and attached to their common incident conflict potentially to action against interests of always conflict groups, whether interpersonal or international conflict situations have basic elements conflict triangle structure, attitudes and behaviors that Galtung offers structures and institutions that influence needs attitudes with systems behaviors make that party changes will include co-op and career coverage for hostilities, amplitude and behaviors are attitudes behaviors are constitution. They conflict widen and deepen and spread eventually resolve conflict but involve a set of interdependent changes involve the escalation to change attitudes, transformation of relationships, simulations, circuit growth, long-term skills, digital 21 distillation, appreciation for authenticity, teaching and process, possible learning, negotiation skills, heating pass back and cancels, understanding, motivating, students improvement, associated with substitution, motivation, learning, code skills, about engagement, business, one economy, difficult decision making skills, united negotiation, communication, moving forward, solve advocacy, interpreting information, about experiences, performance, contribute to development. That's fine. Yeah, I'm good for costs.
Great. Okay. case, top of the 1C says black people stuff has nothing to do with debate. Drop them. This seems like an.
I didn't say that you should drop them. I said that the argument in the doc about why surrendering to blackness is good, should not is.
Why? The argument is hyper-contextual to the tournament champion, and specifically getting black people to elimination rounds. Why do you not care? Additionally, I didn't even read the arguments. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. I know you didn't read the argument. I'm just preempting.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
The next argument about how the ballot doesn't solve material racism. Instances of racism happen in rounds. Should you not be dropped for them?
Well, yeah, we think that things such as IVIs solve racism. For example, if I said the N word in
Solve
round,
racism. I think
or,
it's
or not solve racism, but hold people accountable for racist actions in round. For example, if I said the N word in round, then I would lose.
Wait, so the threshold for you being racist in round is you saying a literal slur?
No, it's not. We think that there are other things that we can do that are problematic and we can be dropped for because of taboo in IVIs. But I'm just giving a specific example. I'm not saying it's just slurs that
Next,
are
on
racist.
topicality, is your argument that sort of Lydia, Easton, all these other black debaters like Azana, Zion, and Leah do not belong in debate?
No, our argument is not that you don't belong in debate. You can even read non-topical affirmatives as long as the negative gets a ballot.
Wait, we can read non-topical affirmatives as long as the negative gets the ballot?
Yeah, because the negative just does not need to have the burden of rejoinder against non-topical affirmatives.
Wait, so we can still so we read the app. The app talks about specific issues, instances of anti-blackness, violence, but you should get the ballot because you're we can't rejoin the plan, which is so bad and terrible.
Well, I mean, our argument is that if the affirmative can defend things like racism bad, it's impossible for the negative to join that without saying racism good, which is obviously problematic.
Are you serious? Anyways, whatever. The second question, should non-black debaters be able to read AfroFest?
We don't take a stance on that issue in the one.
I want you to.
We don't take a stance on that issue. We think that we're not making an argument about non-black debaters reading Afro-pessimism. That's not a stance. That's not something that the 1NC takes a stance on.
So I guess if you're saying that sort of debate is a game, it does not matter. Subject position matters, and judges should have certain sort of ethical limits. Understanding in terms of orientation towards.
I mean, obviously, if someone does something racist in round, they can be dropped because of
status of
voters.
counterfeit
Conduct.
Sure. The links to the CapCat.
The link to the CapCat, we say that our argument is that focusing on performance and literature in academic spaces trades off with engagement with politics and creating things such as political
The affirmative
parties.
defends a policy action. Why specifically has the affirmative divested away from that?
Well, we think that engagement in academic spaces to try to spill up and solve trying to solve issues outside of debate
what? Critiquing things.
Well, sure, critiquing things in debate is fine, but there's no way you can solve those things that are out of round just by reading an affirmative. And thinking that you can do so is bad because it trades off with political organizing outside of debate.
Sure.
We're taking 5, right?
Yeah. I already said. top at 250. There's 2 cards.
I'll let you know when I get the cards.
Okay. Sorry.
What's the order?
The order is going to be case, topicardi, and then also order.
Okay, so case, topicati, decide K, economy, and then precision.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay.
The promised project of an empire promises security and peace through sacrifice of the demand through non-human microchips on your laptop. From the Congo child safety is uniqueness. The role of the judge is to refuse that project and confront your own complicity and maintain slavery. Instead, the willing to die for a better world. The affirmative solved instead of accepting the inevitability of empire. We should think of the unthinkable and embrace the possibility of the impossibility. Detaching our understanding of collective empire. The necessary death case outweighs intergenerational trauma from colonialism and slavery makes the life beyond non-life, which makes non-existence preferable. Extremely biodiversity collapse is inevitable because of devaluing non-life required regulation and presumption and ecocide. Presumption first is that the design gives us uniqueness, refusing those standards is good. Now it does the shapes of the activity we internalize a subject that we don't switch side, which is why judges ban racism good, judges intervention career coaches and college may all prove what it's what first is that futurism is good. Only art, but the futurism is good argument. Only art futurism is good. The futurism regrouping the empire and cycles radical energy towards maintaining the status quo. The next argument about the Woodhouse card first is that all fits for us. It's not offensive for them because they have critiqued amendments of IR or racism. Sure, the affirmative is not racialized. Yes, your IR and other evidence disproves our specific claim that the project of securitizing the empire evacuates the consideration of whether an empire built on slavery and genocide has a right to exist. Account of the progress argument, yes, we agree, but rather you should reorient yourself to spaces of death and extinction, which is not offensive for them. And which is not offensive for them. The simulation key did not have a warrant. It was not flagged. It did not have a warrant. It was not contextual. The affirmative, which means you should have a high threshold for articulation in the case debate. Keith. Framing rendered the value judgment of the competitive illegitimacy of black debate to our rant about why black clashes unvilified relied on white supremacist understanding for black debate, which is collective panel. You were not allowed to separate framework from its anti-black legacy because your ballot sides of the PRL, they were right way the case, not function on the same layer, which means that the affirmative is an anti of the type of debate that they desire counter-interpretation. The affirmative can defend a condition of our instrumental defense of the resolution. Our affirmative means to constitutionally define that the U.S. empire should not exist, which affirms the substantial reduction in military presence. Now, the TVA, not solve any of our dissents at the level of content or form, but we criticize those particles, but it proves that our implicit understanding of the topicality should be rejected as according to the topic, which means that they should have been prepared. Switch side debate first. It did not solve our offense about imposing T. Yes, you can read your affirmative on the deck and defend your research practices into TOC, and you should be able to defend the research you did for the tournament. Testing first, no right line for testing. Individually, the first questioning of anti-blackness. This is the violation. It was incredibly shoddy. You should have a high threshold in terms of articulation. It was literally just, you talk about blackness, which proves our mythologization argument on the case, which means that you should down them. No, the next one. Capital first, yeah. The deterrent is that the decide first is that you is not unique consider the affirmative, which means that all orientation toward that which means that case turns to decide empower make the impact inevitable exchange that's manifest now group utilitarianism sacrifice decided to solve 100% risk of extinction today. It does not mean that everyone gets to live tomorrow because there's no universal future for black people who live die every day. The judge has an educator and obligation to refute fascist logic. Right now, decide extinction outweighs the deterrent and assurance which they use the threat of death to deter social change and then assure you should vote affirmative to embrace extinction debate has no correlation with real impact within subjectivity. The next one. Permutation to the affirmative and permutation to the they have conceded the affirmative. They have conceded the affirmative, which is the prerequisite to alternative policy in Marxist organizing, because they have not explained specifically why their organization does not lead to snitches. I.e., think of every time people the prerequisite to the attachment to visualism and Marxism will impact trend. The links first is affirmative politics start locally and link trend, and the affirmative theorizing condition for international organizing. They are just not immaterial, since this debate is about theorization and instability is important for judge organization. The Phillips card. permutation of the affirmative evidence includes all law critique and forms of resistance movement that even if they with the body sees just as peace that is not immaterial effect needs to achieve this debate and turn our academic gaze away from us to the international contradiction which in-law discourse 7 like frees the red and it relieves the red wishes the independent reason without them. The counterplan first, the counterplan does not solve the internal impact conceded every reason for why our racist and statements of the philosophy of the counterplan cannot resolve every instance of the ethical orientation that we have made.
Okay. I have 5 minutes. Reasons? No, like, independent reasons to reject the team, right?
There was one on P. It was the.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
other than that, there's no like condo.
Yeah. Okay.
How'd you go to the wrong hotel?
Hmm?
How'd you go to the wrong hotel?
How did I?
Yeah.
Bro, I just went to the Campbell house.
Oh, okay.
I just woke up, didn't even check. I was like, the other day, Campbell house.
That's her.
It was not the Campbell house.
It was not.
I was like, where's 325? They said there is no 325. They said there's a 3025, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. I got to see the horse though.
I mean, no one else will this year.
No one else will this year except me.
You're that guy.
It's just big me.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
What was the aff is an indite argument on T?
Sure, or needs, we've consistently defended that the U.S. empire should not exist, which affirms a substantial reduction in military presence.
Okay. Okay, the order is going to be the offs in the order of the 1AR. So T, the disad, the cap K, the Phillips card, the rescissions, and then case.
So T, gone for rescissions. Case?
Yeah, so T just T all the offs in order case. Like
For T, disad, cap K, Phillips, counterplan, case.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Is everything good?
Yes.
Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not being topical is a voting issue for fairness. Debate is unlike other outlets, and students are burdened with the necessary to refute, disagree, and operate inside competitive states. All other venues are for the chance to collaborate. Only debate for is the starting terms of disagree or lose against a competition where both sides clash. One wins and one loses. The constitutive nature of debate requires the negative to be able to rigorously contest the affirmative and undermining its role turns debate into a monologue. There are not enough hours in debate research. Every act tangentially related to military presence and the devastating of the resolution acts as the basis for all negative criticism. It outweighs individuals cannot change debate. They signal whether or not they rather signal whether or not the judge thought the affirmative was a good idea. Only fairness is possible to develop because the remedies are chance of victory. They have conceded competition. They follow time strategies and strategic choices and presume you will evaluate their arguments. Saying fairness is fine for speech times and non-negation is arbitrary and lacks a principled basis in win utility. Turns the case competition drives forces teams to think through the complexities of the debate. Only negation exposes false positives and negatives. Whether or not their method is effective is indeterminate because it cannot be robustly tested. So we should put negative on presumption. It also turns all their arguments because competition means that people are incentivized to write more blocks and internal excuses rather than actually changing their subjectivity. And they conceded every single reason why fairness outweighs, along with all the reasons why debate cannot change subjectivity, which means that the affirmative cannot solve. Now, there are two important arguments. First, you must protect the 2 and the 1AR shotguns. A bunch of impacts without any contextualization or reasons why it outweighs fairness, which means that you cannot draw a line from the wire to the tower. You must put negative second is that the affirmative. You must evaluate the 1AR's impact turns based off of what the affirmative can solve. Our argument is that fairness, the only you conceded from the case page that TOC is the last argument on the topic cannot reorient our strategies because there's no other debates on this topic, which means that the only thing the ballot can solve is an in-round violation of fairness. Now, you say topicality is racist. The topicality is not racist. Reading the topicality, this debate does not securitize against black debate, nor does it racist legacy, but it's rather part of T's negotiatory process. Topicality is also read against white debaters to preserve a role for the negative. For example, we read topicality against many other affirmatives, which means that there's nothing inherently exclusionary topicality, but rather it's solely read to preserve the negatives when potential. Any argument to differentiate framework from topicality against policy absent white poetic voters and early argument because framework has evolved over time to engage with the affirmatives offense through topical version and switch library explanations of clash used to be no case, but are now about strategy building. The threshold of winning this argument is extremely high because they must win that the voting affirmative in this debate can also break down topicality in other rounds. For example, people are still going to read it, which means that the affirmative cannot solve this argument. You say you understand. You say the affirmative is an indictment and that the empire is bad. That the empire is bad. The affirmative is sure the affirmative has offense off of their empire being bad, but they also run an offense off of things such as reorienting ourselves and embracing extinction, which are all things tangentially related to the resolution, which massively explodes limits. Which massively explodes limits. Even if you defend that the U.S. empire should not exist, you get a reference from other things, which means that the affirmative is certainly extra topical and definitely explodes limits and certainly explodes limits. Every single one-year argument about reorienting ourselves and embracing extinction is good. It is a reason why the affirmative does not solely defend the resolution, which zeroes the negative research burden. Now you say that the TVA does not solve. You say it's TVA and SSD fail, and we should defend the research that we did, but we cannot defend our research, and we did not have the ability to research the affirmative beforehand and utilize it, especially because of the fact that they broke new, which proves that competitive incentives overturn debate, because otherwise they would have read the affirmative, otherwise they would have disclosed the affirmative beforehand, and we would have had a chance to prep out and test whether or not our research is accurate about independently absent of topical stasis. It's bad for research models because it allows for false positives such as miscalculations of what IR looks like or how state action is good or bad. Only having links contextually affirmative and iteration about a topical stasis allows us to become better people and expert our strategies. Now you say we defer questions, we anti-blackness. We do not. We agree that racism is bad, but their interpretation means that debaters can defend the resolution as a method of breaking down racism, which requires the negative defense to say racism good, which is obviously violent and is a bad model of debate because the negative is unable to engage with the affirmative. You say the violation proves totalization, but that is they make the violation sound much worse than it did. The violation is not the affirmative is not topical because they defend racism, but rather the affirmative defense things like reorienting cells, which are not part of the topic, which are not intrinsically part of the topic. It massively public explosiveness, which was the argument read in the 1 and C independently. Read in the 1 and C independently. The 1 year pivot proves that they get offense other things outside of the plan, which once again explosiveness and it's extended above and it was extended above the arguments about reorienting ourselves cannot solve. You conceded that family, friends, etc. Thought about offense and balance do not correlate with truth because, for example, Wipeout and Spark win rounds. For example, Wipeout and Spark win rounds. Wipeout and Spark win rounds, and you conceded that family, friends, etc. prevent us from learning from our debates, which means that the affirmative cannot solve our offense. The assurance decide we're not going for it, but we're going to answer the sacrifice decide. You dropped fail about how extinction representations are good. It allows us to empathize with other people. Our argument is not that we only care about extinction when white people are involved, but rather facing effects that are universal and affect all people. Allow us to see how effects disproportionately affect some rather than others, which means that there's no sacrifice. Decide the CAPK we're not going for it. The CAPK and folks are not going for it. But all their arguments about why the prohibition solves best means that they can always prep out hybrid generics like the negative, which proves that we're unable to engage with the affirmative research. The resistance counterpoint we're not going for it. And you say that you defended why IR is racist. IR is not racist. We read arguments on case about how learning about IR is exportable to interpersonal relations. For example, things such as behaviors, attitudes, and structures are all things that are applicable applicable to both international relations and people. And only learning about these things and debating about IR through a topical stasis allows us to determine whether or not things are not good or bad for people in our applicable to interpersonal relations case. All the arguments on presumption, but in totality about how we cannot reorient ourselves, etc., and why the TOC is the last tournament on the topic. Answer all the arguments on case and answer all the dissents that they talk about, which is all of the arguments that they won for. You say that judge intervention, etc., proved, but judge intervention proved, but there's no way the affirmative can solve that by changing the judges' minds and it's also empirically disproven because Wake Forest won the NDT last year. You said we critique IR racism. We said that IR is good. IR is good and exportable to interpersonal relations. So debating about IR is good.
The order is going to be G in case.
Okay.
Everyone good?
Yep.
I'm good.
Wait.
But you said T case? Or case T?
T case.
T case? Okay, I'm good.
I'm on.
Ethan decided to ring the wrong fucking 2 in our block and massively mishandled the counter-interrupt the affirmative as a constitutive defense of the resolution. We defended the resolution as a value statement at the conclusion of our method in refusing the empire. They had multiple 2 in our options, which we massively mishandled, i.e. the disadd and the counter-win, and they still chose to go for T, which means you should be skeptical about 2 in our clash offense with their in-round choices demonstrate a desire to avoid engaging with the affirmative in favor of procedurally writing out black debaters, conceded a we literally defied the U.S. empire should not exist with the affirmative substantial reduction in military presence, which moves all of the office. Means your ballot should already be signed affirmative because they have not defined specifically why our model of debate or our interpretation is uniquely bad, but rather have just gaslight you and saying that, oh, fairness is an intrinsic good to debate, but have conceded the largest piece of offense, okay, which we'll do here first is that our model of debate subsumes theirs, since we still allow for policy debate, but we also include the possibility of Afrofuturism versus Afro-pessimism, and of feminine queer IR, and even liberalism versus realism could impact on its fairness in class, because you refuse to switch sides with the ethicality of the United States itself, and then turn debated into dogmatic racism, even when they win, which proves that our argument and counter-information is uniquely good, their argument, but reverse subinformation, i.e. you make us go for heads good, so fucking what? Try to turn the burden on black debaters to fix all of anti-blackness. This is never without the argument about why you go for positions you don't believe, i.e. the smart example. This is fucking racist black debaters switch sides, but you choose to limit the possibility for KVK debate. Well, sure, you're often now the family first example. First, it does not mean that debate is irrelevant, but rather it is school, classwork, etc. that prove that our arguments are intrinsically good. Now the last argument in terms of articulation as to why the TVA does not solve. The TVA does not solve our affirmatives because the TVA does not solve because it instrumentalizes the debate into policy, i.e. they didn't even have a topical version of the affirmative, but rather just asserted that it was good, which proves that the TVA does not solve our offense because he did every piece of case as to why our argument is uniquely racist, which means that it would condition against the affirmative. Now they say we can they concede that we can weigh case against framework, which is absolutely damning in terms of articulation as to why 6 minutes of IR racism, specifically problematization towards normative policy debates are uniquely bad. They say that, oh, bad for research method you don't solve first, and then you conceded that we do not violate, which was explicit in the 1AR. There was a shaking violation, and you did not allow the tribunal to contextualize it when it was absolutely damning. It was absolutely damning to try to recontextualize it, but that proves our gaslighting argument above as to how you've literally positioned yourself as the antithesis of blackness when they try to proliferate movements of black influence, of fighting against anti-black racism and say, oh, we posited a violation, but that's not what you literally said. Go check the flow. Case. Top shelf, the affirmative was way, the negative was way too defensive in terms of a case articulation. The argument that they have gone for, it allows us to build interconnectedness, but favorite proves that your orientation, there's a performative contradiction in the way that you've engaged in IR, i.e. you literally debate about something that is not topical to the resolution or germane to the affirmative, which all prove are often, in terms of terms, our argument is that you should refuse the empire and continue the rule of the judge is to refuse the project and confront your own complicity to maintain slavery, which comes first.
Can you all refresh? Wait, before you all go, Taj.
Yo.
Before you go, refresh your tab.